Welcome, if you just joined us, political commentator and podcaster Marina Purkiss is with me, and broadcaster Mike Parry is also with us. Now, first up, a shock comeback as David Cameron is appointed as Foreign Secretary. Are you glad that he's back? After that, we're going to be asking, should drivers be retested at the age of 70? I think one of the two here might have some personal interest in this. We'll find out who later. The number is 0207 862 2222. Calls from landlines may cost up to 16 pence per minute, plus any call setup fees. And calls from mobiles may cost considerably more. We're also on Facebook and Twitter, of course. Just search for Jeremy Vine on 5 and use the hashtag Alexis Conran. So let's get straight into our first debate. Are you glad that David Cameron is back in government? In a dramatic reshuffle, Rishi Sunak has sacked Suella Braverman as Home Secretary, and in a move that no one saw coming, has appointed David Cameron as Foreign Secretary. That's because James Cleverly has now moved to the Home Office. So are you happy to see the return of former Prime Minister David Cameron? Do you think he will unite the Conservatives after the turbulence of the recent years? Or do you think it's a step back for the party? Marina, let's kick off with Suella Braverman is gone. Good decision, bad decision from Rishi Sunak?
I mean, good decision, but she should have never been in that position in the first place. OK.
I'm still trying to find out, I need a politics geek to sort of reaffirm this. Is she the first Secretary of State to have been fired from the same job twice? Because she left when under Liz Truss. So she's left the same job twice. Yeah. I wonder if she's the first Secretary of State. But Marina, let's focus on David Cameron, because that's the one that no one saw coming. He's been elevated into the House of Lords and is now a Foreign Secretary. Good decision, bad decision?
Appalling decision. But I think what this does is it shows us all how completely broken our politics is. This man, he's been given a peerage because that was the only way he could be appointed into the cabinet, right? Given a peerage. What is that peerage for? What is he going to be? Lord Cameron of Greensill? Was it for services to corruption? Yeah. This is a man who is a disgraced Prime Minister who was involved, he was at the centre of one of the biggest lobbying scandals we have ever seen. Greensill Capital that cost the taxpayer, I think it was £5 billion.
Hundreds of millions. Certainly.
Well, and then think about the chaos that ensued because of his Brexit referendum now costing the taxpayer upwards of £100 billion. Can we afford David Cameron at this time, this unelected man who is now going to be Foreign Secretary, unelected, unaccountable, when we are in the middle of two big conflicts?
So let's explain a little bit, just because, again, I've had to look all this up as well, just to make sure. Because he's going to be in the House of Lords, because, as you're right, no one has voted for him. He's not a member of Parliament. He's not an MP. He's going to be made a Lord. As Foreign Secretary, no one from the House of Lords is allowed to speak in the House of Commons at the dispatch box. So, on matters like Gaza, China, the US, our relationship with the EU, any decisions that the Foreign Secretary makes cannot be questioned by his counterpart, David Lammy, Shadow Foreign Secretary, in the House of Lords. Yeah. So someone else is going to have to speak for David Cameron in the House of Lords. He will face questioning from the Lords in the Lords.
Yes, he will. Usually the First Secretary would represent him in the House of Commons. But remember, this is not the first time this has been done. Lord Carrington was Foreign Secretary at the start of the Falklands War and had to resign, as he said, through honour, because, we didn't realise the Argentinians were doing what they did. And before that, Lord Alec Douglas Hume, who was a Prime Minister himself and then came back into government, and I think he served for about 18 months as Foreign Secretary. Look, I'm going to agree with Marina for a second and then disagree with her, but I think it's the most dreadful political appointment. To me, David Cameron is patrician. He's old school. He's Eton, Oxford, now the House of Lords. I don't think he commands any respect around the world. He was a useless blinking Prime Minister. And what's more, the reason he had to give up his job is because he so badly misjudged the mood of the country by telling us all, back Europe, we're going to stay. And the country turned around and said, no, you've got it wrong. We're going out. So, as far as I'm concerned, Cameron, disastrous appointment, Rishi Sunak, hopeless weakness, but Suella Braverman should still be there. Rishi Sunak's made a terrible mistake in sacking the only effective cabinet minister.
Did you not see enough chaos at the weekend? Did you want more? Is that what it is?
No, I think that Suella Braverman's been very brave. I think a lot of what she said I agree with. The statement she's made about what actually happens in those marches is, in my view, entirely accurate.
I'm going to pause you there because I don't want to talk about Suella Braverman. We've talked about her a lot. She has also said that she is going to release a statement later on about her leaving the Home Office. And again, we don't have a particular reason from Number 10 about why she was asked to leave government, but most people are pointing to the fact that the Home Office asked her to change some parts of her opinion piece in the Times, and she refused to do so. So perhaps that's why she's gone. Now, look, we're going to put our chart up here. Are you glad Cameron is back? I'm going to put you here in the know, both of you. So we've got Marina, we've got Mike. Now let's hear from people at home. Mary in Northumberland. Mary, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Where would you like to go? Are you happy he's back? Yes or no?
Definitely no.
Definitely no.
Yep.
Why not?
I think that Mr. Cameron is probably the happiest man in the world at the moment because he had an eye on the prize. He's got the prize before he's done anything. He wanted a peerage, no doubt. And he's got the prize. Who says he's going to do anything? I mean, if you go into work on Monday, the first of the month, and they hand you your month's salary and says, well, you've got to work the rest of the month. Well, a lot of people will call in sick the rest of the month. They've got their wages already.
OK, Mary, let's try and balance this out. What actually has been interesting, back in 2018, David Cameron was quoted as saying that he was very bored outside the life of politics.
Sitting in his shepherd's hut.
And he wanted to come back into politics as Foreign Secretary. So this isn't something completely out of the ordinary. Yeah. However, Mary, let's just look at David Cameron as part of a cabinet. You've got a Prime Minister who perhaps needs experience around him, needs somebody who has been there, has dealt with difficult situations in the run-up to an election. Is it not perhaps can it not be considered a wise appointment from Rishi Sunak to get some more experience into that cabinet?
I'm sure that there's other people in the cabinet that who have been working that could have taken that job. I don't think Mr. Cameron should have been brought in. It's not like, even though he's got more experience, what did he do with the experience? He didn't do anything good. He brought us...
Mary, can I say something too? You made some very good points, but the other point I wanted to make, you may agree or disagree, is James Cleverly, the former Foreign Secretary, was, in my view, doing an excellent job. He'd been all around the world, to Washington, to China, to the Middle East, and got very, very good feedback everywhere he went. So why has he weakened his cabinet for the sake of bringing in this has-been?
And also, you've got to ask the question of whether he wanted the Home Secretary's job, because he was quoted this summer as saying they'd have to drag him out. There would be fingernail marks on the floor to drag him out of the Foreign Office. And generally, Marina, it was accepted that he was doing a good and competent job in the Foreign Office. So now he's been given another job that perhaps he wasn't as keen on.
It's just a merry-go-round. It's like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
All right, Mary, thank you for that. Let's see if we can get a tick over at this side. John in Milton Keynes, are you glad David Cameron is back?
I'm going to say no.
OK, another no. It's not looking good for Dave. Why not?
So I don't really agree with Marina that often, but I do agree with her on this. I think David Cameron's a weak leader. He went to Europe and he got eaten alive, and he quit. I can't believe in the whole of the cabinet that there is absolutely no one that could take his position, and it's a real big shock. Since the referendum, the country's been in a mess politically. And that's down to David Cameron's leadership. He shouldn't have quit after the yes vote. He should have stayed on and made sure and seen it through. So I don't have no faith in this man. And also, to bring somebody back that tells me that you've got nobody in your whole party that could take this position, and that's absolutely scary.
That's an extremely good point, John. What does it say to the rest of your MPs in Parliament that you're going to bring someone who's, let's call him a little bit Marmite. There's a lot of MPs who like him. There's a lot of MPs who dislike David Cameron. That you're saying, I'm going to have to go and make somebody a lord to bring him in cabinet in the four great offices of state because there's no one else in this bunch of Conservative MPs that can do the job. What does that say?
Also a Remainer.
And he's weak.
Let's be honest, a
He's
Remainer as well.
arch-Remainer.
Yeah.
He had to quit his job because he was a Remainer. And also, just to back up the point our caller's making, why couldn't he have done it shakedown? So, for instance, I'd like to see Kemi Badenoch get a better role in government. Do you see what I mean? She's very young. I think she's about 37. But he sort of shuffled it around, put somebody else into the Foreign Office and moved up the talent below. Because you're absolutely right. A smack in the face for all those aspiring backbenchers.
But John said the word there, weak.
Terribly weak.
About Rishi Sunak. Does he know politics? Politics, from the way I see it, it's always about gaining political capital and spending political capital. You gain points for making the right decisions, or be seen to be making the right decisions, and you lose points for making unpopular decisions. By waiting so long to get rid of Suella Braverman, he hasn't gained any points for actually sacking her because it became inevitable that he had to. And now he's bringing in David Cameron.
This is where
so it's a
clever.
lose and lose.
No, this is where I think he's actually been quite clever.
He's been clever.
Because what are we all talking about now? We're not talking about Suella Braverman and what she did and what she incited over the weekend. We are talking about this appointment.
OK. John, some great points. I hope we talk again. Thank you for calling. Anne in Hertfordshire. Good afternoon, Anne. Come on, Anne. Where's your tick going to go? Yes or no?
I think the Prime Minister's made Suella a scapegoat for what happened at the weekend.
OK.
He should go out of one door. She should still be in her job. And the bloke he's brought back should go to wherever he was and stay there. He should never have come back. They're bringing back an old boys' club.
I think that's a no, is it? There we go.
Definitely no. They're bringing back. It's going to be an all boys' club, all rich boys' club.
And you've just mentioned something there that a lot of people have picked up on. The four great offices of state, the Home Office, Foreign Office, Chancellor and Prime Minister, are now occupied by four privately educated men.
Yeah.
What does that say about the government?
They don't know what they're doing. They couldn't run a primary school.
I agree.
It also tells us that there is no such thing as meritocracy.
It's disgraceful.
Absolutely not, because there is no discernible talent, right? You know, David Cameron, prior to entering politics, he could not get a job in the city. Even, I think it was...
No, he ended up a TV station.
William Hague interviewed him for a job, I think, was that McKinsey possibly? Yeah. And he said he was useless. So he ended up using his links, because he's got a very, very privileged upbringing, to get into politics. He's completely unremarkable.
He was a PR at a television production company. I remember speaking to him.
But David Cameron was very respected by other international leaders.
Was he? Who told you that? Honestly, I'm serious, Alexis. Who told you
that? Israel considered him one of the strongest prime ministers who'd be pro-Israel. That came from them.
In Europe, if he'd had any nous, we could have... The referendum could have gone in his favour if he was able to go to Europe and do deals with the Germans and the French and the Italians. They had no respect for him, and he couldn't.
We already had the best deal. We already had the best deal.
He could have made it better. He could have made it better in certain areas like immigration and that sort of stuff, and he might have got his way. But he's a poor politician, very poor politician.
I'm just trying to get one of those ticks over here.
One other thing, and another reason, don't forget, he presided over austerity. Austerity, which we now know fails.
No, but he had to.
No, he didn't.
He did. Gordon Brown bankrupted the country, Marina. No, it's not. It's true.
There was a global crash, and you're going to put that on the.
I'm going to say Gordon Brown mismanaged the economy in the years he was Prime Minister. He did.
Poor argument.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm sticking to it.
Austerity didn't work, and it killed over 300,000 British people.
Austerity did work in reviving the economy.
Did it?
And it's very questionable as to how many deaths.
Everything's broken. The cuts that he saw.
Let's find out if we can get a vote of yes for David Cameron. Let's try our luck with Robert in Hertfordshire. Robert, good afternoon. Are you glad Cameron's back?
Yes, because I think he will be a a breath of fresh air.
It's literally old news.
but Robert, he's already been prime. He was Labour. He was Conservative leader for I think 12 or 11 years, and he's been prime minister for 6.
He's a decent man.
Okay.
Are you all right with his scandal then, Robert? Were you okay with his scandal, his Greensill scandal? Did you...
Scandal is made by the media.
No. Please don't say that.
The only thing...
Please don't say that, Robert. He was at the centre of a scandal where a company was brought in. He lobbied for this company to be brought in. And
a company he was being paid.
He was being paid £1 million a year, I think, for 25 days' work. This company then got a massive government contract and it ended up going bankrupt and it cost the taxpayer £5 billion. Robert, that's not media, that's fact. Are you all right with that?
Well, it is media. It's not fact.
No, Robert, people like you, just wake up, please. Wake up. God, I'm bored of it. I'm sick of it.
I don't think Robert is actually, aware of the detail of what you're talking about.
No.
But you are right.
And Robert's got a vote.
Mike, you're agreeing with Marina. So I just wanted to get that on record.
On that one?
Okay,
fine. Certainly. Yeah.
Okay. Robert, thank you. At least Robert thinks that, he's a breath of fresh air and he's welcome back in Cabinet. Let's find out if Alistair thinks the same. Good afternoon, Alistair. Are you glad that Cameron's back?
I certainly am not, no.
OK, that's another one on this. Why not?
The fact that he's an unelected member, the people haven't voted for him, the people haven't done anything for him, but he was just brought in at the last minute to try and save the Tories with their next election.
I mean, Alistair makes a point there that we find ourselves in a situation with a Prime Minister that no one's voted for. He hasn't gone through a general election. And a Foreign Secretary that no one's voted for. And people recall, like I'm sure Alistair does, that the whole point of Brexit, for example, was unelected bureaucrats making decisions for the rest of us.
Yes.
We now find ourselves in this exact situation.
I think there's a slight difference. I mean, Cameron certainly is not elected on this occasion, but he has put himself in front of the British people for all the years that you talked about when he was elected into Parliament, held the highest office. So
if you've won once, you can serve.
Well, no. What I'm saying is the way they'll get out of it and say he's not elected is, but he hasn't in the past and he's had the highest office and he'll go around the world now and impress everybody from Eton, Oxford, the House of Lords. It's rubbish. I think it'll be rubbish.
All right, let's take another. Thank you, Alistair. Mihai in Staffordshire. Mihai, good afternoon. Where would you like to put your tick or your cross? Are you glad Cameron's back?
Yes. I'm very glad.
Why are you glad?
Because as a foreigner myself, and been in this country for 12 years now, I think it gave us an opportunity to European people to come and, grow up a bit the economy of the country.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it didn't go the way he wanted it as with the Brexit, because obviously it didn't go in his favour, which... shame, because a lot of European people, but they was working here with families and everything. They had to leave.
But aren't you making the point that he's sort of failed, really? I mean, he put the referendum and he backed the referendum as a prime minister, which is a very powerful position to be as a government, to back the referendum to remain. He lost that. He had also said that he was going to stay and make sure the country was okay. He didn't. He left,
next day.
And Theresa May became Prime Minister. Mihai, let me ask you this question. Rishi Sunak has made a whole point of saying, in fact, he was quoted as saying that he's going to break the 30 years of status quo governments. He disagreed with the Cameron administration when they put HS2 forward, etc. So in a sense, he said, that is all in the past. I'm a breath of fresh air. And what does he do now? He brings David Cameron back into his cabinet. How can Rishi Sunak say that he's the Prime Minister for change when he's got the Prime Minister who started the 13 years of Conservative government back in his cabinet?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that they from the same party, they're Conservatives. So, by being for the same party, I see as they know what is happening in the past. I think they will try to, repeat it in a different way. But, it's going to be hard.
OK, Mihai, thank you.
I just want to ask him, Mihai, what do you think he's going to do for you? What do you think David Cameron's going to do for you?
For me personally, will not do anything because I don't see him in the power of, being with people and trying to solve the problems of immigrations and stuff like that. That we will not help me because obviously myself, I got indefinite status to remain, so I can be in this country and work and contribute to the country the way I'm doing right now.
Okay, Mihai, I'm just going to stop you there because I want to quickly squeeze in Kay because, it's not even close, but let's just have a go. Kay in London, good afternoon. Kay, are you glad Cameron's back?
No, I'm most certainly not glad he's back.
There's another one there. Okay, why do you think he's been brought back, Kay?
I really can't fathom that one out because it took the wind out of my sails this morning when I heard the news. I don't understand why they're taking him back. But what I disagree with is that we are already paying him his PM's pension.
Yeah.
Now we're going to pay him for this job. And then we're going to give him £300 a day every time he turns up in the House of Lords.
For life. Yeah. Well, I mean, there are a lot of people who are saying, look, there's a lot to be decided yet. It could be that he doesn't draw a salary for being Foreign Secretary. It could be that he ditches his pension. There are choices that can be decided. But let me just ask you this before we leave this debate. Do you think Rishi Sunak is more powerful today with his actions that he's taken than he was yesterday?
No, I don't. In actual fact, I think he's undermined himself by bringing back an ex-PM.
Yeah, I do. I totally agree with you. It's almost like, I mean, he spent a lot more years as Prime Minister than Rishi Sunak, and he's going to be taken into the Cabinet room and people are going to be looking around the table thinking, hang on, who's the senior man here? It's very unsettling for a Cabinet to have two Prime Ministers in the room instead of one. I think it's a terrible political move.
OK, so we've got the end result, 2-7. It's almost like a terrible football score nightmare.
Yeah, it is,
British democracy says he's in.